Well, hey guys, welcome to the Weekend Extra. My name is Kyle, and I am with Pastor Joe, the man,
Hola.
the myth, the legend. I used that on Jeff already, but you're really the man, the myth, the legend.
I appreciate that. I think
you should. Anyway, so we've been in this conversation called Life Intentionally, and it's basically kind of going through the heartbeat of grace.
Yeah.
Know it, live it, and now we're finishing up with Give It Away. Joe, you're a little biased about that. How do you feel?
a little bit. I mean, I like all
Awesome.
three, but
Thank you so much.
Okay.
But so, Joe, you talked about in your service the idea of volunteers are intentional and they make the time.
Yep.
So one of the questions we had was, what if we're just busy? It's a part of our lives. There's no way we can get around it.
Sure.
What happens? Like, is there any way that we can kind of give it away, do something, volunteer within those parameters of like our busyness?
Yeah.
How do we navigate that?
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of times where we can probably be more intentional in the environments we already find ourselves in.
Yeah.
And so, like, for instance, we're gonna eat 3 meals a day.
Right.
And so you're going to eat breakfast, even if it is just grabbing a muffin or grabbing a smoothie real quick, or you're going to eat something at lunch, you're going to eat something at dinner. Like, are there ways to redeem those times? Can it be a 10-minute conversation with somebody over that muffin?
Yeah.
Can it be a FaceTime with somebody over this? Can you grab lunch with the person that you've been trying to connect with, or invite the family over for dinner, or have that buddy you've been meaning to connect with and do it? You're going to be watching the Cavs game, right? Or something like that. Like, so have that person over and watch it together. Don't just sit there and do it yourself. Like, have the person over. At work, figure out a way to do work stuff where you're having those intentional conversations, whether it's right before the meeting or right after the meeting, and saying, hey, I remember you said something about, your mom last time we were together, like, how's she doing? When you start intentionally investing yourself into their lives, even though it's just a 30-second segue out of an official meeting or something like that. And then there are other things like, maybe you're involved in a community sports league, or maybe if you have kids, your kids are. Like, when you're at the practices, when you're at the games, like, are there ways to be talking to, praying with, serving, figuring out a way to, like, hey, I'll bring all the snacks or the food or the drinks this time, and you guys don't have to worry about it that way. There's a way to kind of invest yourself into them and show you that you love them. You're going to do these things already.
Right.
So just try to use that to your advantage. But then I do want to just, like, it is very much a common thing for us to always say we're busy. I want to make sure we're taking a hard look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, there are plenty of people that I've met, and we've kind of walked through their whole schedule, and as they really dive into it, they realize there's a lot of, like, fluff.
Yeah.
Where, like, it takes up time, but it's not necessarily intentional at all. And I'm not saying 100% of our schedule has to be 100% productive.
Right.
But there are, like, I was talking with one person one time in particular, and he was like, I had no time this week to whatever. And like, oh yeah, what'd you do? And then all of a sudden he's like, I did binge watch X show on Netflix.
We never
8
realized,
episodes.
all that stuff can just add up, and we realize, oh, we're actually not that busy sometimes.
Right. Sometimes we are. I get that.
course.
But there's usually something that can be cut out or made less frequent, or use that again. Like, could you do the Netflix binge with that friend or whatever? There's just ways to redeem, I think, what's already happening in our life that could be really helpful.
Right. And that's so helpful, especially when you're thinking about jumping in and you have no idea, how do I become a light, or how do I give it away?
Right.
I can do it right here, right now, and start immediately without, having to take huge steps into, like, you immediately have to, like, do this all the time,
I mean, it can be quick texts. It doesn't
Right.
always have to be like the 2-hour meeting. Like, hey, I read this morning, thought about your situation, thought it might be helpful.
Yeah.
Like,
Something
done
as simple
deal.
as
And you're
that.
just starting to drop stuff in, and because you're creating a frequency, a friendship, a relationship. It's not about sitting down with someone one time and getting this perfect explanation of who Jesus is and why he's awesome and how you should follow him and all that God does and blah, 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 one setting.
That's huge.
Like, just help people realize a chunk at a time. Like if they don't even realize that God wants to have a relationship with them, then everything else is foreign anyway.
Right. Can't go 1 to 10, without
right.
having the other steps in place.
Right. They say it all depends on which stat you look at, but I've heard some people say it takes 7 times for you to hear the gospel before you're willing to accept it. I've heard other people say it takes 30. Either way, there is no wrong step to be. If you're step 3 amongst 7, good, they took a step.
Yeah.
You're just helping them move along, and then intentionally loving on them and serving
Right.
them. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Very cool.
Well, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Joe. Ooh, sorry.
Burn.
Little soft there. Sorry.
Sorry.
Well, thank you so much, Joe, for your input. If you guys have missed the sermon, I encourage you to watch it on our page or on our website or on our YouTube channel. This has been The Weekend Extra. I'm Kyle, and this is Joe, and we'll see you guys
See ya.
next weekend.